Welcome to the channel and to this tutorial video. Today we're going to learn how to make terrain like this. These rocky hills, these crags with these different levels on. Here are some larger pieces of crags or hills that I've featured on the channel quite routinely in the past. The process I followed and the materials that I used to make these very large pieces here is exactly the same process that I used and exactly the same materials that I used to make these smaller chunks, these smaller canyons and hills here. So if you want to add some very big pieces like this, you can just add some more layers of insulation foam as you pile them on top of each other. I originally made these really big pieces because I wanted them to fully block line of sight terrain. I wanted to make sure that Imperial Knights or Wraith Knights could not be seen when they were behind the very large pieces, and as I already have a bunch of very large pieces, when I decided to make this tutorial I thought I'd make some smaller bits like this. They're still large enough to block rhinos, still large enough to block line of sight down certain avenues, but bigger monsters will be able to tower over these pieces here. If you are making a chunk of terrain like this once, I would firmly recommend you make 2 or 3 very big pieces like that which completely shut down line of sight, and even flyers as they're making their way behind them can't be seen, and then make 10 or so of these little bits here. It's particularly important as well, I've found, to make just tiny small bits like this that you can just add to your battlefield to give it a bit more life. If you've just got the large chunks, then it can sometimes look a bit overwhelming. So that's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to do a good mixture between the smaller bits, these medium bits, and some of the larger pieces that you see here. And if I was doing this for the first time, I would do 2 or 3 of those giant bits there. Anyway, that's what they look like when they're finished. Now let's go rewind time and go back to the beginning, show you how I did all this. Okay, these are all the ingredients you'll need to make the crags. The core part of it is this insulation foam which you can get from your local hardware store. It's polystyrene, it's 1 inch thick. 1 inch thick is good. You get a different size, but 1 inch thick is good because when models go up, it's easier to measure the heights as they go up. And the bulk of this terrain will be this stuff stuck together with PVA glue and 3 types of paint. 2 spray paints, a brown and a black and a white with a fat brush. That'll make up the bulk of it. The sand and the flock and this gravel here, which I've got from a pet store, that's just dressing on top to give it some life, to give it some vush. Vush? That's a word now. Quick warning note though, this stuff is going to get very, very messy very, very quickly. If you live with someone, you're probably going to annoy the crap out of them when you do this project. So let's get creative and let's annoy the crap out of my wife. So what we're going to do is we're going to get creative. We're going to break this apart with our bare hands and make shapes, make hill shapes, crag shapes. Okay, I'm getting creative. I am making some stuff. Some hills are appearing, some crags. I thought I'd show you how much glue goes on between each of these layers. And the answer is lots and lots of glue. Chuck it on there. These things need to be solid. They're going to get thrown around and chucked around and used for many, many years. Groovy. And at the end of the process it will look a bit like this, leftover pile and rocks and crags and hills and things. Alright, on to the next stage of the process. We're not going to spray any paint on them yet. We need to dress them up first. Right, the first thing we're going to do is protect the surfaces. Spray paint, this spray paint will melt that polystyrene when you spray it on. As you can see, this bit here is melted away. See this lip under the top? That has melted away. It will do that to your polystyrene creation. So you need to protect it first by painting PVA glue over the surface and round the sides of your polystyrene. That's why I bought such a large bottle of PVA glue, because we're pretty much going to use all of it. So you spray it on the surface like that, and we're going to get our fat brush and just paint it roughly all around, just very quickly, roughly here or there, and that's it. And what will happen when we spray it on is the PVA glue will protect some of it from melting, and in the bit, because we're being rough, other little bits will melt and you'll get this, it'll be a nice effect. I suppose you could paint it on very, very thoroughly and coat every single little bit of the polystyrene if you wanted to protect it from melting completely, but I don't want to do that for two reasons. One, I like the mixed effect of some bits melted, some bits not melted, and two, it would take a very long time. Right, the other thing we're going to do to add some dressing is I put on a large amount of PVA glue there, and then I'm going to get some of my stones, chuck them in there like that, add a little bit of sand like that, let's give it a bit of a shake, lovely. And then I did it again up here just with some rocks, here with some sand and rocks, here with just some sand, here with some larger rocks and just keep going and going and going and adding bits to your polystyrene creations. So here we are at the end of the building process. She's told me to clear up, so of course I have cleared up, and here are all my creations stuck together. As you can see, it's a very simple process. All I've done is break apart pieces of insulation foam, stack them on top of each other in different shapes, and added sand and added a few pebbles here. Now you just need to let it dry, wait for 24 hours, wait for it entirely to dry, and then we're going to spray it, flock it, and we'll be done. So very simple process, but it just takes an amount of time, that's all. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Welcome back, it's tomorrow, now we spray. Like that. If you've coated your thing properly in PVC, it will not melt very much. If there has been lots and lots of gaps in the PVC, it's going to melt an awful lot. So I'm using black and brown because it's a very neutral colour. You could use brown, light brown, dark brown. You could use a grey. And just do that so you get this different tones of colour across your creation. You're going to need to be bold with the paint. You're going to need to be brave. You're going to need to channel your inner War Master. Get loads and loads of layers on there. And then it starts to melt dramatically, like this. Oh no, like this. And then the panic sets in as your creation collapses before your eyes. The only answer is more paint, be brave. Either it will give up, it will stop melting, or you will give up because this piece of terrain will no longer be serviceable. That's quite bad as well. It's quite bad. I found the Games Workshop paints are more corrosive than this craft paint I bought from my hardware store. Maybe I should just use craft paint. Oh yeah, safety warnings, do this outside in a well-insulated place. Wear a mask, not an eye mask. You want to be able to see a face mask. Always wear a seatbelt, drink responsibly, don't lie down on some train tracks, and look after your teeth, I think. Alright, you'll get it all done. You keep spraying it and it just keeps melting, it keeps refusing to dry. So I think we're going to have to walk away and let it dry. Okay, we're done. I walked away, let it dry, came back to it, added a blast of paint where you could see the white foam, walked away, let it dry, added a blast of paint where you could see the white foam, and a number of hours later, this is what we've come up with. So you can see the two-tone effect of the different coloured paints here. It's quite nice, and some areas are entirely melted, didn't put much PVA glue on that bit at all, whereas some surfaces are very strong. You want to make sure that these top surfaces have got lots and lots of glue on, a thick layer of glue before you start spraying, because that's where you want to put models, right? And I should have perhaps put more there, but yeah, these surfaces should have the most amount of glue. I might have said that already. And now we're going to dry brush it white. I've got a pot of white acrylic paint. You can use a Little Games Workshop white paint, but you will use that entire pot on this. We're going to use quite a lot. Here's my splodge of paint, and dry brush, as you know, get some stuff on your fat brush, and then be brave, unleash your inner Horus and get it on. I'll show you what, but do this Do it thick in some areas, lighter in other areas. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, now we're done. I swear I spent no more than 2 minutes just slapping it on there. You can see some areas which are very white, some areas which are not so white. Haven't bothered putting any paint on these bits because we're going to put flock on the top surfaces, on most of the top surfaces. There's a bit of sand here where that sand is and where the rocks are. I've done a bit of dry brush over them. But yeah, just a couple of minutes. They start to look like these ones here. Okay. Just splat white, dry brush them very quickly, very lightly, as you can see on this bit here, not a lot of white. Around here, quite a bit of white. And it should be rough and ready and uneven. And when you're done, it will look a bit like this, rough and uneven. We've got brown bits, we've got black bits, we've got white bits, and white bits not dry brushed that heavily on it, so it looks a bit grey. And you can see bits where the rocks are, bits where the normal polystyrene's coming through. We've got sandy bits, we've got melted bits, and that's how you get all these different textures popping up over your rock. So now what we're going to do is wait half hour for this to dry, and then we're going to flock it, and then we're done. Flocking is easy. We all know how to flock. Put a bit of glue on it. Get an old brush that you're not particularly fond of and spread your glue around. Pinch your flock between some fingers, that way you control it when you sprinkle it on top. A little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit there. You'll notice I put some on the edges here and on the flat surface, haven't gone all the way up to the edges to leave some bits bare, some bits with flock on. Again, having that, see, look, a bit bare there as well, giving those patchy effect that we're going for here. On your rocks, as well as putting bits on the top, make sure you put little bits around the edges like that. It breaks up the grey and the browns, helps give these little features a touch of life. Okay, we've almost finished the process. Nice areas here with flock and sand and rocks, breaking up little different parts of the model here. I like this rocky effect there. This one I put some less flock on because it was more corroded, so that's more corroded. This one more grassy, this one more grassy. Just got these two to finish off here. Bit of flock on there, bit of flock on there, and I've run out of flock, and it's 9 o'clock at night and I can't go out and get any more flock. So I was going to wrap this process up tonight, but I'm not going to be able to do that now. I have to get me some more flock. Damn. Okay guys, we're back at the beginning. I found some more flock and put it on these terrain pieces here. So everything is done. And that's it really, nothing more to say. I hope you enjoyed the video. Happy terrain building, happy wargaming.